take some questions.
So, John, thank you for doing this, but I think I speak on behalf of my colleagues in this room, and we want the record to reflect that this was sent to us about 10 minutes before the briefing began, with little notice, and it's the very definition of a modern major holiday news dump. You're releasing this at the beginning of the high holidays, and after months of requests from Republicans and the broader public. So why today? And is this all we get? And is this a response to the studies that were done by the agencies? Or is this considered a summary of it?
There's a lot there. This is the result of months and months of work by individual agencies who are participating in the withdrawal to voluntarily review that withdrawal, which they did. And they worked through that. These documents are classified. And we felt it was the responsible thing to do after those reviews were done to then run a process across the administration to take a look at those reviews ourselves across the interagency, work our way through it, and then provide them to the relevant committees and leaders on the Hill, which we did today. We think that was the responsible thing to do. And what you're seeing today is the result and the culmination of an awful lot of work, Ed. No effort here to try to obfuscate or try to bury something. It's an effort to try to be as open, as transparent as we can be. And what you got in that document there is a pretty fair summary of our perspectives of the work over those many months and pulling and collating a lot of those lessons learned together. And we're trying to present certainly the key lessons learned, the ones that that we're able to share more openly and more publicly with you. And I'll tell you this, you got questions after the briefing today? I'll stay here as long as you want. But you got questions after the briefing today? You know how to get a hold of me. We'll answer whatever you have.
I got two specific ones about what's in this document after a speed read here. On page 8, the President received and accepted the unanimous advice of his top national security officials to end the evacuation on August 31st. What is the definition of a top national security official? Because we know, for example, that General McKenzie, who was then head of CENTCOM, has said he objected to aspects of this. So what's the definition of a top national security official?
I am loath to get into the individual advice that individual members of the President's team give him. That would not be appropriate for me. But I can tell you, having lived through this as well at the Pentagon, that the President specifically asked his team, should we extend past the 31st? He specifically asked them to go back and look and see what that would look like, because we had secured this additional time from the Taliban to the 31st of August. And the team did that. The team did that, Ed, not just at the highest levels of the Pentagon, from the Secretary to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs to General McKenzie, but even the operational commanders on the ground. And there were numerous flag and general officers on the ground at the airport. All of them took a fair look at the President's request and came back to him and said that it would not be advisable, given the high threat environment. Remember what also happened on the 26th, that attack at Abbey Gate? And then we had a very high temp between the 26th and the 30th, in which, of course, there was a kinetic strike taken in downtown Kabul. There was high temp. And so the advice of his senior national security team all the way up to the senior levels of the Pentagon advised him that the 31st was the appropriate date to end that evacuation.
There's 4 pages here of blame on the previous administration, or this White House explanation of what the last White House did regarding Afghanistan. Nowhere in here does there appear to be any expression of accountability or mistake by either the President himself or others. Is there any for what happened?
I would argue that the very fact that we voluntarily, the agencies voluntarily decided to go conduct after-action reviews. Nobody told them to do that. That wasn't legislated by Congress. They did that on their own. And the fact that they did that, and that we were now placing it on the Hill for Congress to look at, the fact that we digested and distilled some of the key points of that and gave it out in a public document, the fact that I'm up here talking to you about it, I think shows you how seriously that the President felt about learning lessons from this withdrawal. I would also point out to you that the work isn't over. So, number one, even before you got that document, some of those lessons were applied. I talked about Ethiopia. I talked about Ukraine. And number two, it's not like the work is all over. The president signed the legislation enabling the Afghan War Commission to be formed, and we're going to continue to work and cooperate with that. That's going to look at the whole 20 years. America's longest war deserves a lengthy review and lengthy study, and the president's committed to that.